All right, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out this video by Richard Spencer. It's called Seth Hatfield's Dictatorship of the Normietariat. Interesting title for sure. All right, so before we even get into the video, we need to talk about, what he's saying in the video about Andrew Wilson. And basically, this is one of the main problems, is that Andrew Wilson explicitly states that he is not part of the manosphere. He is specifically an Orthodox Christian and also a political commentator who bases his political commentary off of his Orthodox Christian worldview. So yes, Orthodox Christians do believe that the only proper place to have, sexual relations is within a marriage in the Orthodox Church. And in fact, they believe that all other marriages are invalid, including Muslim people, Jewish people, and all forms of atheists and pagans. In their mind, everyone else's marriage is invalid because their religion and belief system is invalid. So Richard is employing one of the oldest arguments used against the manosphere. The manosphere are the real feminists. And then he mistakenly conflates Andrew Wilson with the manosphere, which is his main false premise in this entire assumption, where he's conflating the manosphere with Andrew Wilson's views. Now, I believe that it might be a psyop that YouTube promotes Andrew Wilson as seeming to be part of the manosphere when he does explicitly state that he is not part of the manosphere. And people use him as a straw man against the manosphere when he does not share any arguments really with anybody in the manosphere for the most part. So the manosphere is the real feminist argument is just completely dead in the water, because at least for the most part, the main brunt of the manosphere are right wing, and we want less government, not more government. And in fact, most of the prescriptions given, when there are any, it's usually just descriptions, are to remove the government. So Richard Spencer's first claim that the manosphere is socialist and they want the government to do something for men is false. Okay? It's false. We don't want the government to do anything, in fact. Now, someone having a Nietzschean view of the world, it does seem kind of ironic that he would be advocating for self-sacrifice, because that's the opposite of a Nietzschean will to power type of worldview, or a survival of the fittest Darwinist worldview. Now, if I were to say to Richard, hey, would you pay money for me to have sex with a woman that you like? And then I said, well, you're not willing to do it for the culture. You would obviously not reject that argument. You would say, oh, do it for the culture? What are you talking about? I'm not paying you money to have sex with a chick that I'm trying to get with. It's ridiculous. Right? So that's the first kind of set of arguments. I'm going to play a little of what he's saying here, and then I'll kind of get deeper into his arguments.
Yes, because he wants, this is what just drove me up a tree listening to him talk on trigonometry, where he was like, they're not marrying us, are they? They're not marrying us, and yet I can get drafted into the army or something. He wants the condition for him to defend the homeland or be a warrior is government mandated pussy.
Now, see, again, if I told you to go and get shot so that I could get some pussy, would you do it? It's the same thing as the JQ, right? Are you going to go to some desert country to die for someone who doesn't care about you, who's literally on social media saying that you're the scum of the earth? and that they hope that you're removed from the earth because they don't like you? Would you want to go die for them? I mean, is that Nietzschean to die for someone that says that to you? I'm not sure. I haven't read enough Nietzsche. Okay, let's keep going.
He wants socialism, period. He wants a world in which, whether it's God or the government or the church or whatever, is mandating stay-at-home moms for him. And otherwise, he refuses to fight.
Again, is it Nietzschean to fight for someone that hates you?
He is a socialist. People who, I mean, this guy, Seth, is more honest in the sense that this is almost this weird thing. JF pointed this out. It's like everything that I was talking about, Seth, like, is explicit, like explicitly is what I was talking about. The Manosphere is a socialist movement on behalf of what he calls the common man, or which.
See, that's all he's saying. He's just saying, because we already know feminism is just socialism in high heels. So instead of just blatantly coming out, which would be more honest, and just saying that, you know, it's basically like saying like the Dems are the real racist. The MGTOWs are the real feminists, right? It's not true. It's like horseshoe theory, and it's not really that accurate. And then you see how he conflates what Andrew Wilson is saying about, you know, a Christian covenant marriage and monogamy with what vast disparate groups of people in the manosphere. And yes, there are some left-wing kind of socialist guys in the manosphere, but I would say that the most popular guys are right-wing, minimal government, and at least removing government from the reproductive process in the sense that it's inflating the value of women artificially through government, basically funds or programs that give women jobs and stuff. It's the same arguments that you make against black people. Like, you know, it's like, well, we shouldn't give them DEI because we should let them fall into their natural place in society. And if that happens to be below white people, then so be it. That's just the natural order of things, right? And instead, the government's giving benefits and all types of welfare and all types of other stuff to women, basically to keep women away from men, to lower the birth rate. And again, this is one of the reasons why you guys, white nationalists, were leaking guys into the manosphere over the past 10 years. Like, the manosphere used to be like kind of like a non-racial thing. And because you guys were hemorrhaging so many young men from the movement, because of guys like Richard Spencer, who were kind of espousing this type of contradictory idea of, on one hand, proclaiming that there's a great replacement of white people and low white birth rates, and your refusal to criticize women for hyper-inflated egos and not wanting to reproduce with the average white man. So you guys lost a lot of people with this rhetoric. A lot of young men. You guys lost a lot of young men. I know, because they were coming into MGTOW, and I was talking with some of them, and, you know, watching their videos and stuff, and they were specifically saying what I'm saying right now, that, you know, the leaders of the white nationalist movement would not criticize white women in a way because of the type of contradictory idea that Richard Spencer holds. That on one hand, whites need to, you know, increase their numbers, and whites are great and there should be more white people, but also criticizing the average white man and saying that he's not worthy of being married and reproducing and having a family and being a part of society. You got to pick one, right? You got to pick one or the other, right? And nobody really on the right-wing side is saying to have the government do it. It's just the same arguments as to get rid of the welfare, get rid of the DEI. You know, it incentivizes bad behavior. You know, when the government steps in and promises money to people for making bad decisions, like becoming a single mother, or, you know, just having a child out of wedlock, or getting a divorce, and causing, massive financial harm to her husband and splitting up the family, causing psychological trauma to the children. These are all social costs that you're not really factoring in when you're just doing your like Chad Nietzschean, the tall, rich white guys get all the women and everybody else just has to watch type of thing, right? It's cool, but the same things that you complain about, low trust society and, increased crime and people not like really wanting to participate and take part in their own future, all these things are kind of like consequences of this type of like attitude, is like hyper Darwinistic type of attitude. All right, so I'll play a little more and then I'll get into my,
or what you could uncharitably call low status males. That's what it is. And Seth is honest about it. Should be given kudos for that.
Claim that women would willingly choose potential abuse for access to favored males. Where does this leave the common male, the
all right, I've got some notes here that I'm going to go through that kind of more touch on these points. All right, so now the first kind of concept is Darwinism versus social Darwinism. Now, before, there used to be real Darwinism when humans were less conscious. But as humans have become more conscious, we basically decide who lives and dies. It's no longer up to nature. Like, if you really believed in Darwinism, then we wouldn't give people glasses, right? Because that's like not natural. Like, you shouldn't be able to see if you're blind, if you're born blind or born like farsighted or nearsighted, and you should stumble around and fall in the middle of the street and get run over by a car. That's natural, right? But as a society, we came together and decided, actually, we can make glasses and give those glasses to people as a society, and then they can see and they can be a productive member of society, right? And then we decide which people in society get to like live and what things have social status. It's not like, say, for instance, basketball has some intrinsic natural value, right? We as a society have decided that basketball is cool and it displays human traits in a way that we enjoy. And we've raised basketball players up to be these like paragons of society where they're like billionaires and they get to reproduce with whoever they want and stuff, right? But we could just as easily say, hey, you know what? We don't need to watch tall people dribble balls. We have other stuff to do, right? Like other societies, like in China, they never invented basketball, right? Or Africa even, for that, right? So then the concept of enforced monogamy versus divorce disincentivization. Now, the manosphere, for the most part, we focus on this. We focus on divorce disincentivization. So we're talking about men that women are attracted to and have even formed families with, that are breaking up families due to hypergamy, due to the relaxed laws of hypergamy that they talk about in the video. That is true, that there are relaxed hypergamy laws, and it's partially because people will not criticize women's behavior, and they always put all the blame on men. Men are lacking, men are this, men are that. How about women are just like stuck up and they need to be realistic and realize that they're not all a 10 and they all can't get with Brad Pitt and Elon Musk? How can we can diss men all day and call men low status and say that they're begging for women, but how come we can't just say, some of these women are overblown, like they're barely like doable, but yet they think that they're going to they think Elon Musk is just around the corner. They think, they think Brad Pitt is just around the corner because guys like Richard won't just tell him, look, no, like, you really think Elon Musk is checking for like a 4 or 5? No, these women are living in fantasy land. And I guess if you have like an extreme Darwinist view, then you think that everyone that's like sub 5 basically shouldn't exist. That's a different story. That's a completely different story. If you're like that, but then you're not being honest if you claim to believe in society. If you believe in full-on Darwinism, like only the strong survive and there's no laws and rules and anarchy and just the people that can kill, and the people that can reproduce, and there's no society, but then it's like, but then you're also like, but white people have like the greatest society on earth. We're the most civilized people on earth. I mean, it's kind of like contradictory, right? And that's why you guys keep losing so many young men to the manosphere. And you can make fun of us and say we're all low status, but it's not really true. A lot of it does have to do with like the DEI programs and other social engineering programs that boost women, sometimes artificially, sometimes not. It's the same thing with black people and minorities, right? Some black people can do the job and some of them probably shouldn't be there. They're getting DEI and stuff. So we can look at some of the, oh no, so sorry, I skipped over hypergamy versus PUA. Now, I think that the hypergamy debate is actually overblown. Because if you actually look at pickup artists and other like masculinity experts, they can reliably teach the average man how to attract women for long-term relationships. So this concept that only like the top 1% of men are even touching a woman anymore, it's not true. It really isn't true. It's something that is pushed by the manosphere in order to get views and clicks, and it attracts men that are in a state where they're not really getting a lot of female attention. That is true. Some of that's marketing, some of it's true. But I think that if you watch enough pickup artist content and you see their results, and if even half of their results are true, then it is possible for, an average kind of like blue collar or white collar office guy to learn the tricks of the trade and attract himself a long-term partner. It's not impossible. So going back to this whole 80-20 rule thing where it's like this Nietzschean Superman, it's a fantasy, right? Okay. So then we have the limits of polygamy, right? And specifically polygamy where it's one man and many women. So first of all, what the manosphere talks about is the tax costs, right? Because you've got single mothers, like, for example, the St. Clair chick, Ashley St. Clair. Now she's a single mother, and she still needs, some masculine guidance in her life. So now she's looking for other men to basically cuckold because now she's not willing to have a child with him because she already has a child. Elon Musk, she's just looking for somebody to be around, and this goes down the ranks in society. So now you've got a bunch of single mothers looking for men to clean up, basically. Shout out to Obsidian. They're looking for the cleanup men. And nobody really wants to be that, right? Everybody makes fun of Andrew Wilson for that, right? Everybody makes fun of Andrew Wilson for being the cleanup man, right? And yet that's the society that your, Nietzschean Superman will create. A society with a ton of women going around looking for that. Then, of course, single senior women. Huge tax burden. Lots of medical expenses. They're not able to be as secure, so then you're gonna have to put them all in like nursing homes, and they can't take care of themselves and all this other stuff. And of course, since they're single moms, the chance that their kids are going to be criminals or something else is much higher, and then they won't have any family to take care of them, right? So then we have crime cost, such as increased male crime, increased male risk-taking, status seeking, right? Resource hoarding and peacocking. All these things come with the increased hypergamy competition when you don't, encourage monogamy. I'm not saying enforce, but encourage, and then you don't disincentivize relationship dissolution, right? So then you get male crime because males are competing for resources, and when they're on the lower end of the IQ spectrum or status spectrum, they might resort to property crime or even, violent crime to gain status or resources. Increased male risk-taking, status seeking, right? Motorcycle riders, surfers, skaters, right? Kung fu experts, weapons experts, right? Just basically anything that can put you ahead of the pack of all the other guys and make everybody talk about you, pay attention to you, even if that includes taking a risk, right? For status seeking. And then, of course, you've got the resource hoarding, peacocking, where people are drip marketing, it's called nowadays, where you're just kind of flossing, you're buying extra jewelry and clothing that's high cost just to, or expensive cars, right? Just to show what you have. And that, of course, could increase crime, risk taking, status seeking, all kind of goes together. Then again, right, this is the thing that everybody's talking about, right? What happened to our high trust society? Well, a Nietzschean society is a low trust society because it's like the Highlander, right? So you want to live in the Highlander where everybody's trying to take the next guy's head off, so there's only one, and the one guy gets all the women, right? It's not really a society, though, is it? And then you got lack of male participation, right? That's what Richard was just saying. Oh, you want to get something out of it? You want to get something? Is that really Nietzschean? Is getting nothing for giving your entire life really Nietzschean? I really haven't read it. So somebody in the comments, let me know if Nietzsche prescribes in any of his literature that you give up your life for nothing. Right? Because that's what he's saying. He's basically saying almost the same thing as the Christians. But at least the Christians are like, at least you get a chick for giving up your whole life and all your money and everything, right? Richard's like basically saying the same exact thing that the Jays are saying to you. He's literally saying, go die in the desert for nothing. And you should have a smile on your face while you think about him getting the pee. I know he's really not saying that, but that's what he's saying. That is what he's saying. And at least the Christians are saying, hey, well, at least we'll tell a chick to bang you first. So they're kind of winning there. Your message isn't reaching the young men as you think it is. Okay. Right. So they're not going to be participating because they're getting nothing. Right. And then you're saying that that's socialist. I thought capitalism was what do I get? Where's my profit? That's capitalism. What do I get out of it? How much are you going to pay me? And if you're not paying me with a family and you're not paying me in the industries, then why would I die for you? Right? And then going back to the whole hypergamy thing, right? The women's unrealistic expectations actually are leading to the low birth rates. Again, the same low white birth rates that everybody's talking about these days, right? Because while the chick that's a 4, right, Goro, is waiting for Elon Musk to come around the corner, there's actually a guy that's willing to date Goro. And again, if you're an extreme Darwinist, you might say, well, Goro shouldn't even exist. But that's your view, okay? I think that we should just naturally let reproduction flow as much as possible, because once we move into social Darwinism, then we're just deciding who lives and dies. Once we start deciding it, then we live in a democratic society, who's to say that they might just vote you out, right? Oh no, but it's socialism. We're socialist, right? Okay. Basically, you're also a socialist because you kind of want the government to block like quote unquote low status men from being able to get women. So basically, you're seizing the means of production through state power. Through state power, you're seizing the means of production. We're saying get rid of the government, move the government out of the way between men and women. Okay, so we've got some just questions to leave off with. Are women actually more productive in the workforce, i.e., creative, self-starting, experimental, or are they just more compliant in a corporate and set task environment? Do women actually want to be in a polygamous setting, or does resource scarcity cause hypergamy? If every generation, or if in every generation, 80% of males are selected out of society, why would those 80% of males contribute to the future construction of society? Again, is it more socialist or more capitalist to say, what do I get? How much are you going to pay me? What's the exchange rate for my labor? If you're saying you got to do the labor, right? You're saying increase the white race, increase white babies, Western babies, right? And then at the same time, you're saying, oh, but actually they shouldn't be alive. You got to kind of pick one. Be more honest about it. If you believe that, 80% of white guys shouldn't exist either, just tell them, I don't like you guys either. Right? I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, that's pretty much the points I had to cover here. Check out the video, link in the description. That's it for me. Have a good day and peace.